If you're watching this on the VLE or have just floated by on YouTube, a very warm welcome. My name is Rory Lees Oakes, and in this presentation we're going to look at quick book reviews 2. There's already some book reviews on this channel, but this is the second lot of book reviews, and my aim is every time I read a book or one or two books to put a book review up to tell you my thoughts about it. So the first book we're going to look at is Carl Rogers, a critical biography, and it's written by David Cohen. This book is good for anybody who's doing a level 4 course in counselling, and it would link in quite nicely with your studies. And I've put the ISBN numbers at the bottom, so if you want to do any further investigations and copy the numbers, I'll put an Amazon link in the YouTube bar at the bottom, so you can just jump onto Amazon and have a look. So David Cohen, the background to David Cohen is he's I guess a celebrity psychologist. You sometimes see him on programs when they ask a psychologist to give an opinion, and he's written lots of books and been on the TV. So this is a critical biography of Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers, to a lot of students, is seen in a quite ethereal and godly manner, and it was certainly something that irritated Helen Rogers, Carl Rogers' wife. She's quoted as saying that his students, Rogers' students, saw him as almost a god. And of course he wasn't, he was a human being. And this book really does flesh out Rogers the man and tells you all about his life. He was a hard-nosed psychologist. He was a clinician. He analysed, he studied in psychoanalysis. He was a PhD, and he did lots of other interesting work and had lots of other interesting business ventures, which I'll let you read in the book if you decide to buy it. Cohen's research comes from Carl Rogers' papers, documents and personal information that were left to the Library of Congress in America. And the Library of Congress is a library that people who are famous in the world of academia or esteemed in the world of academia leave their research papers to, or the families bequeath it, so people can research famous scholars, if you like, for want of a better phrase. And this is where David Cohen's got all his information from. Some of it, I have to say, is supposition. I think he's filled a few of the gaps in with a little bit of poetic license. But some of the facts about Rogers, actual hard facts, are very, very interesting. And it just shows Rogers as a human being, complete with all the frailties. So I'd recommend it. It's a good book to read, and it certainly goes around the tutorial in the classes I teach. I often see a dog-eared copy being handed from one learner to another. So it is an excellent book. The second book I'm going to look at today is Love's Executioner and Other Tales of Psychotherapy. It's written by Irving D. Elam, and it's a wonderful book from the position of a psychotherapist, and it's really useful for learners to see how a psychotherapist feels about their clients. Through, I think it's 10 case studies, Elam talks about his engagement with different clients on a therapeutic level, and he's absolutely honest, as far as I can see, about his own thoughts and feelings about his clients. And I think it's really useful that students, and indeed practitioners, have a realistic view of what a psychotherapist may feel. I think sometimes, certainly for learners who are coming in at the beginning of their counselling training, they think that they have to be absolutely perfect. And while we do expect high standards in training, Love's Executioner shows that, you know, counsellors, like everybody else, are fallible and human, and this explores it in a very well-written way. And also, if you want to know what existentialism is, and you don't want to read lots of books on philosophy, there's a chapter that explains beautifully what existentialism is. This book you can find on eBay really cheaply. It has different covers, so if you find a cheap copy, buy it. Same with all the books really, you can pick them up quite cheaply if you look on eBay. Love's Executioner, an excellent book. The third and last book I'm going to look at is called Living with the Gloria Films. Again, if you're doing a level 4 course, and you've probably seen the Gloria Films, that's Carl Rogers working with Gloria, the woman who's talking about her daughter. Gloria worked with 3 psychologists. She worked with Rogers, she worked with Albert Ellis, and she worked with Fritz Perls. And a film was made of the different approaches to psychotherapy, and Gloria agreed to take part in this. And in the films, she was talking about her daughter, Pammy, and this book is written by that daughter, Pamela J. Burry, and talks about Gloria's life. It's a really good book from the point of view that anybody who's seen the Gloria films always asks what happened to her. What happened to Gloria? What happened? And when I was a learner, there's so many fantasies about Gloria that went around, some of them which were actually told to me by our tutors. I got 2 different versions off our tutors, and I'm sure they believed they were true. But this book actually has the facts of what happened to Gloria, her life. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to project up now. There we go. A picture of Gloria. It's not a very good picture, but anybody who's seen the Gloria films will recognise Gloria working with Carl Rogers. If you want to see the Gloria films, you've not seen the Gloria films, if you go to the favourites tab on this channel, you'll see that I'm hosting the entire Gloria films courtesy of another YouTube user, so you can watch them and gain an idea of what I'm talking about. If you don't know the Gloria films, you can actually watch them on this channel. So again, a lovely book. I got mine for Christmas. It was on my Christmas list, and it appeared on Christmas Day, and it's a great book. It's not a very thick book, and it's very kind of anecdotal, but it does talk about Gloria's life and you know, the courage that she had. It was originally filmed for the therapeutic community. It was supposed to be an academic film, and it ended up in mainstream cinemas. So she was seen by a lot of the American population, and it just goes to prove how far ethics have travelled in it's 1960s, so in the years between 1960 and 2011, how far ethics have travelled. You couldn't possibly now exploit a person in this way, a client in this way, to be totally unethical and in fact morally wrong. But in terms of the historic encounter with historic therapists, it's an interesting film. So that ends the presentation on these 3 books. If you want further information, well, if you click on the VLE, I'll put a link to the PowerPoint. You can download the PowerPoint. And if you're watching on YouTube, if you click in the link below, just below the red arrow, I'll put a link to Amazon and you can put the ISBN numbers in. And finally, thank you for watching.